Hey guys, welcome to my channel. So recently I've been noticing a lot of monochrome, different varying shades of forest and emerald green, and I think this color is just fantastic. So I decided to do a cake where I was going to feature that color and also include some Isomalt decorations and some texture. So to make this texture, this is wafer paper. This is 0 grade wafer paper, and I am just using my scraps from flowers that I have made, putting them in my little, I think this is called a Ninja. Can't remember what it's called, but you could use any kind of a food processor, anything that's going to chop up basically your wafer paper. It's a really good way to use your scraps. And then I'm just adding some petal dust. And I used, it's basically a forest green, and then I added a little bit of black into it to give it a little bit more depth. And what I want to do is get this basically to the texture of a sand kind of texture is what I'm going for there, because I don't want it to look like grass, but I wanted to look more like sand, like a little thicker sand. So once I go ahead and get that all chopped up, just set it to the side until you're ready. And what I'm doing here is I am using chocolate ganache, which is a mixture of 1 part heavy cream to 2 parts dark chocolate is what I used for this. And I'm just using this as my crumb coat. And for my top tier, the bottom tier was a 6-inch 4-layer cake, I believe. For my top tier, I wanted to do a smaller cake. So I'm using a 3.5-inch biscuit cutter or circular cutter, and I am just using cakes that I had in the sizes that are a little bigger than I needed and cutting them all the same size. That's a good way to use when you have extra batter and extra cake, but not the right sizes, is go ahead and use these cutters and cut them down to size. But you can't really find them any larger than probably about a 4-inch to 5-inch round. So keep in mind it's going to be a smaller tier. And then I'm just using the same ganache to fill it and to crumb coat it. Locking those crumbs with that ganache. You can use buttercream if you prefer, but I just find that I just kind of gravitate more towards the ganache. I don't know why. Maybe because I feel like it's firmer when it sets up, a little bit more forgiving than buttercream. But either one works just fine, and I do use both. And once you have both of them crumb coated, go ahead and set them in your refrigerator for 20 minutes or your freezer for 10 minutes. And then go back in with a second coat of ganache. I just want to make sure that ganache layer is nice and even, I guess. Because I like to have chocolate in a bite of my cake. I just do. As long as chocolate goes with your flavor. Don't do it with a lemon. That wouldn't be good. Just keep your flavor profile in mind when you're dealing with ganaches. And if it's not going to go good with chocolate ganache and you want to use ganache, just do a white chocolate ganache. And the formula for that would be 1 part heavy cream to 3 parts white chocolate. White chocolate is different than the other chocolates. Go ahead and let those set aside in the refrigerator and firm up. And in the meantime, we're going to go ahead and make our Isomalt decorations. I'm using just the instructions on the Isomalt package. And then I'm using different sizes and different shapes of cutters. I'm using square and rectangular. And these are just my cookie, just cutters, regular metal cutters. Don't use plastic. This won't work for that. And go ahead and grease up those cutters where the Isomalt is going to be poured into. I'm just using a spray. You can also, like a non-stick spray. You could use shortening if you prefer. And I made my Isomalt per the instructions, and then I'm just adding in my color. I believe this is a forest green and then some black again. And I did do this twice. I don't show you both times, but I did it twice, and I got 2 different colors. One, I added more black to it than the other one. I believe this is the first time. But you do the same thing the second time. With Isomalt, prepackaged Isomalt, the nice thing about this is you do not have to heat it up to 310 degrees, I believe is what it says on this bag, this type. Once you've already gotten it up, tempered it to that temperature, if you need to reheat it, just go ahead and reheat it to the point where it's flowing till when it's workable again. And go ahead and set those to the side and let them cool off and set up, and go ahead and go in and use our buttercream. I did a layer of buttercream, In the same color, I used the forest green and a tiny bit of black in this. I didn't mind having different shades of green as long as it was all in the same monochromatic color scheme. And I frosted both of the tiers the same way and set them in the refrigerator to set up. And there I'm showing you what these look like before I'm torching them. I'm only torching them to remove any of the cloudiness that you can get sometimes and to remove air bubbles that can happen in your isomalt. I do like to set my isomalt to the side for maybe 30 seconds to when it's hot, right off of the oven, right off of the stove, so that some of those bubbles can dissipate. But sometimes there'll be some trapped in there that you can't get because you do have to work with it before it starts getting too solid. And now I am just brushing on some piping gel. That's how I'm going to get my wafer paper flakes to stick to the buttercream. And this is messy, I am not gonna lie. This is messy. My hands were definitely coated in green, but that's okay, it washes off. And I'm just using my hand to just apply the flakes onto the buttercream that is coated in the piping gel. Now you can do this in smaller sections. If you don't work real fast, you're working on your speed, go ahead and do one section at a time. So I showed you that first smaller section, and then I just did the rest of it all in one go because, you know, I've done this for a while and I can move pretty quick. Not this quick, this is sped up. But you get the point. And then I'm just using a fan brush to brush it up. A combination of using my hand and using a fan brush. Whatever method works for you. It's just kind of hard to use the fan brush to get up all the way to the top. So I thought I would try to do the whole thing with my hand, which is possible. Make sure that you're putting a tray underneath you. I have just a towel, which is fine, but you might want to use a sheet pan, a sheet tray underneath to catch the excess. It's easier to get rid of it that way. And then I just went ahead and put some on the top also. I'm just using these big fat straws to support my upper tier. And since this is just a smaller tier on top, I'm just using 3 straws. And I'm just sticking them all in. I'm just using my small gum paste flower rolling pin just to push them in. And remove the excess off of the top. And put a little bit of buttercream on the top of those straws so that when you lift your top tier on there, it will stick. Now this has been in the freezer, so that's why I could lift it up with my hands. And then I'm just using these floral, I don't know what these are. These are just like plants, I think is some kind. If you know what kind this is, let me know. I didn't even bother to check. But I covered the stems in, I actually attached a floral wire, and attached it with floral tape. So that when I stuck it into the cake that they were covered in floral tape. And then I'm just attaching these Isomalt geometric shapes with a little bit of the same buttercream. I just kind of arranged them in a haphazard pattern. I didn't really have anything in mind starting off, just kind of looked and saw how it was developing itself and went with it. I did try to keep in mind to alternate the colors. I didn't want all the same colors in one spot. And for right away, I attached the leaves that came with these silk flower plants, whatever they are. But then I did go ahead and take those out, and I had some white flowers or whatever, plants. Just the same as the green, and I did go back in and put those in. I thought that looked better, but you tell me what way you prefer it. And then I'm just attaching some edible gold leaf, using my finger and using brushes. Just on the Isomalt itself, because that's not going to really stick to the rice paper flakes, snow, whatever we're going to call it, as well. It's not sticky. So they will not stick to that. They could stick to the buttercream if you wanted to put it on the buttercream section, that's just fine. So there you go, guys, something a little bit different. My Isomalt decorated, geometric Isomalt decorated, monochromatic, green, forest green, emerald green cake. I hope you like it, and I hope you decide to give it a try. So thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch my video. And if you'd like to watch some other videos, go ahead and click on the link to one of these other videos shown here. And if you would like to check out my other social media, I am on Facebook and Instagram under the same name, Sophisticakes by Mary. And please take the time to share, like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so that you know when I upload another video. Thank you so much, and we'll catch you on the next tutorial.